10th year of a long relationship with Ryan. I answered his phone by mistake. Our kitten has had a litter of kittens. It was a gentle female voice. Caller's note. Kitten. He's in the shower. Call back later. I hung up cold. That night, Gooey madly picked up the scattered clothes, randomly put on the body, rushed out, and I smashed our home, erasing myself to erase everything erase. Stepped on the plane to fly abroad. 3 years later, Gooey intercepted me on a vacation island, deadly staring at the next little Doudon Moncler Pacher that has a slight resemblance to him. He asked with red eyes. Mine? Ryan was so energized that I was tortured to the point where I couldn't even open my eyelids. My cell phone rang and rang. And in a daze, I tapped answer. Our kitten had a litter of kittens. Obviously it was a gentle and lovely female voice. But my head felt like it was exploding. And my sleepiness was gone. Glancing at it, the caller's note was kitten. The other party shouted. I took a light breath and returned a calm tone. He's in the shower. You can call back later. There was a moment's pause on the other end and then he hung up. Ryan emerged from the bathroom with only a towel around his lower half. Beads of water that hadn't dried on his body slid down his muscle lines and soaked into the towel. There were still a few fresh scratches on his body. My handiwork. Why don't you get more sleep? His eyes darkened a few more points as he stared at my red-marked collarbone. I hand him my cell phone just as he's about to lower his head to me. He frowned in displeasure, jerking the phone away and tossing it casually, restraining my hands, his breath roaming over my body if anything. Kitten, I said. The man buried in the side of my neck stopped moving. She called you and said your cubs were born. Ryan was instantly clear. And like a madman, he picked up the clothes that were scattered around the bed, threw them on at random and rushed out the door. I was alone. In the home we had decorated together, watching him run to another girl. The girl was his blind date, and the two had started contacting each other 3 months ago. They went from meeting to confirming their relationship in less than a month and shared a stray cat. She shared food, music, and even an ordinary cloud with him. He responded to everything, casually photographing dinners, cutting off my traces before sending them to her. And Ryan and I chatted about nothing but work. Only in the middle of the night at intimate does he murmur wife in my ear, a term that adds to the amorous nature of the situation. And yet I held it like a treasure in my heart for 10 whole years. I smiled, fished Ryan's cigarette case out of the drawer. I probably hadn't smoked in a long time and choked on it. I coughed up tears. My colleague Mia sent me a message. Sister Summer. Mr. Goo is in love. Ryan and I have always been businesslike in front of people. And we often fight because of disagreements. No one dares to imagine Ryan teasing me on his lap. What can you do with your own person? Spoil him. What an anti-human scene. And today, Ryan pulled that girl into the company's group chat. Hello everyone. I'm Lily. Mr. Gus' little assistant. Please show me around. Her group memo was Riss little flower cat. A lot of things can be understood without being explicitly stated. I don't know how Ryan explained the phone call that I answered. All I know is that Lily added everyone in the company. Exhausted one by one. Mia sent me an emoticon that rolled her eyes. It was already annoying to go to work and be treated like an imaginary love interest. Not long after, Lily sent a friend circle, with a picture of a cup of green tea, with the text, "Do not casually move other people's cell phones. Uneducated O." Ryan nodded alike. I expressionlessly swung a bat to the side and smashed the house. It was only after the mess all over the place that I smiled with satisfaction. When the housekeeping team arrived, I sat on the only couch that hadn't been oohed and awed and gawked at. It's not that it's so reserved. It's just that I'm tired. Really. So tired. MS. Seong. Are you okay? Probably because he saw that I was too much of a mess. The visitor asked me. And Ryan's chat box. Still stuck at 2 hours ago. I gently shook my head and gave a genuine smile. Move all the lady stuff out of here. Ryan and I went to college together. He grew up in a gated community, where his family arranged the back roads and all he had to do was obediently follow them. But he was stubborn and broke with his family to start his own business. I was his first partner. He financed the business and I contributed. I asked him why he chose me. There was no shortage of people better than me at the university. He twirled his pen absently and looked at me steadily. A heartfelt smile. I like you, he said. I froze. That defiant energy. Once my ambitious vitality was something he admired. Later, that ambition became his scorn. And Lily, unlike me, was simple. His marriage partner needs exactly this kind of naive girl who has little ambition and revolves around him. He was sober enough to know what he needed and put it into practice. He and I are in the same category. Rebelling and struggling, like dormant predators. Because of this, we tacitly went back and forth in the mall. The meandering over drinks and the ruthlessness in the real world helped us to level the playing field. The night we made our first pot of money, we were both drunk, lying in bed with red bills scattered around us. Ryan looked at me sideways with emotions in his eyes I didn't understand. Summer, you're awesome. I smiled. You're not so bad either. With the high intensity of the work, Ryan, the big young man, finally got sick and started a high fever. I was busy taking care of him, but he rolled over and covered me up. I still remember that the ends of his eyes were red, and his whole body was as red as a ripe Cajun shrimp because of the fever. I like you. This time there was no pause. No suffix. He no longer restrained himself, and lingering on the tip of my nose was the faint smell of tobacco mixed with mint on him. A tiny whimper was demolished from his bones into his stomach. It's hot. Hot enough to make your heart boil and sink altogether. I moved back into my house. I've spoiled myself over the years. I've been spoiled with the problem of recognizing the bed, and I actually lost sleep for the night. When I returned to the office, I bumped into Ryan. I nodded politely and distantly. Ryan frowned. Lily jogged over and stood between us. Hi. Imris fiancé. I nodded and returned the greeting. At the sound of my voice, her face cuts for a second. I didn't exchange pleasantries anymore and went straight to the elevator. Nwan, is it? Lily caught up with me and Ryan followed close behind. I've often heard Ree talk about you. You're very good at your job. However, it's not good for a woman to show her face too often and bunch up with men. It's nice to hang out with your girlfriends. Go shopping. Get a facial. Just leave the work to the men. Don't you think so, Ree? Ryan rubbed her hair with the utmost gentleness. Dare I say it's not right? I didn't react much to Lily's provocation. She probably recognized my voice and was anxious to show her love in front of me and declare her ownership of Ryan. In the company, please call me General Manager Seong. If you want, let the HR department arrange training for you. With food and accommodation. I stopped paying attention to the reactions of the people behind me and flicked the spot that Lily had touched. However, my reaction angered Ryan. After he supported Lily, he went straight into my office. I frowned in dissatisfaction. Mr. Gu. Knocking on the door is basic upbringing. The last 4 words. I bit down extremely hard. Lily's words. I returned to him in full. He hooked his lips and bent over, encircling me between his two arms and the sofa. You were the one who opened the door last night. His eyes swept over the hem of my skirt with intent. Snap! I flung him a slap without hesitation. His pale face was instantly stained with bright red fingerprints. Ryan topped his cheeks, smiled, and got up to sit across from me. The villa on the west side of the city. I've already had someone transfer it to your name. And the piece of land you had your eye on before. It's about to be approved. Ryan half lifted his eyelids. His expression was flat. Clean break. He always hits me right where it hurts. The knife I handed him. It ends up in my body. At this point he towers over me. Like my so-called stepdads. Talking about love while buying it off with money. Freshness on top of the lover's game glorified as in the name of love. Lily arrived with her lunchbox just in time to see me splash Ryan with water. She came rushing in screaming and flung me. I was never in the habit of taking losses. The only loss I've ever suffered was probably at Ryan's hands. My swinging hand stopped in midair and was clutched by Ryan. He stepped in front of Lily. His tone warm with anger. This is not the place for you to be acting crazy. I raised my other hand and slapped him hard across the face. Looking at the symmetrical fingerprints on Ryan's face was a relief. Without could you have gotten to where you are today? Lily stepped up to take Ryan's place. You're fired. Lily held her head up to make herself look imposing. On the basis of my 30% shareholding. On the basis that you broke into my office without permission and assaulted a company executive. Lily panicked. Her eyes flickered a bit. And when Ryan didn't say anything to scold her, she continued to provoke my face without fear. Is the biggest shareholder. And am Ri's fiancé. What are you? If you want to roll, it's you who should roll. There was already a circle of people surrounding the office entrance. Ryan didn't say a word, acquiescing to her behavior and backing her up. There's no point in continuing this argument. Okay. Let's break up. They'll give you my shares at market value. Ryan. I've done my best. Ryan, who had been silent all along, saw a few more cracks in his cold face after I took out the agreement. Probably he didn't expect that I had already drawn up the agreement and was ready to leave the scene. Lily's mouth was tinged with a smile. Being favored is really emboldened. Who called the police? I covered my face and walked up, stumbling a bit in the middle. Comrade police. I've been beaten. I am now dizzy and want to vomit. After examining the injury at the hospital, it's a mild concussion. If I refuse to settle, Lily will be detained for at least a few days. Ryan hooked a meaningful light smile, looking like he'd seen through the trick. And Lily finally panicked, nervously tugging at Ryan's coat. I don't want to spend the night here. I'm scared. Ryan gently coaxed her not to be afraid. He had his back. Once the money ability is out of the way, I'm not some kind of insensitive person. After leaving the police station, Ryan pulled me into the dark. For money. You really don't even have a face. I hooked his tie and yanked hard. He had to bow his head and level with me, stepping on my face to support a newcomer. You should have thought about the consequences. Ryan laughed instead of being angry, and raised his hand to hold my back waist against his. You've got to get your temper back. What man can stand you? I pushed him away in disgust and headed for the parking lot. Ryan followed me, his voice coming out in a nonchalant tone. You know my mom. Her health hasn't been very good in the past 2 years. So Lily is just right for her. I didn't pay any attention to it and pulled open the car door. But Ryan raised his hand to block it. Summer. In addition to marriage, I can give you anything. Get out! I slammed the car door hard and yanked away. In the rearview mirror, he stood with his hands in his pockets with the light behind his back. Unable to read his expression, the streetlight stretched his lone shadow long, spinning around and snapping his throat in the hospital restroom. Disgusted with Ryan and Lily. But I didn't feel good either. And I went home and fell asleep. I woke up the next day to a call from my mom. "Nwan, you haven't been home for dinner in ages." I looked at the date and answered. The person who opened the door for me was a new face. "Nwan, this is your Uncle Wong." My mom introduced me. I sighed. My mom's new boyfriend. Unlike the elegant and reserved men of the past, this Uncle Wong looks like a man who has lived his life. At the dinner table, my mom was very attentive and gave me food. "Nwan, Uncle Wong has a son who just graduated this year. So let him help you in your company." Although I was prepared, my heart still flashed a trace of despair. "I quit my job." "Why did you quit? Did you upset Mr. Gu?" My mom put down her chopsticks in surprise. And after thinking about it, she gave me a proposal. Later, buy some fruit and go to beg for leniency with others. Xiaoyan does not look like a child who does not miss old friendships. Clang! Chopsticks were smashed on the ground by me, making a snapping sound. My mom choked up and cried on Uncle Wang's shoulder. This child has been stubborn since she was a child. And whenever she has something wrong, she smashes things and loses her temper. If it were not for her father's abandonment, I would have to take the child alone and suffer all the glare. Is it easy for me? Uncle Wang painfully hugged my mom. Appeasement in the future with him. Do not have to face my mom alone these. Yes. The whole world is you are right. You are the most aggrieved. I laughed coldly. No longer pay attention to the strong feelings behind me. Turned to leave. Since I know things. Isolated and bullied. I had a complete childhood. I was just a bargaining chip for my mom to hold on to my real father. Time and time again, she pestered and stayed, angering the real woman in his family. My mom had to take me with her from city to city. No one welcomed us in, always trying to take advantage of my family. I evicted those people like stray, fighting for my legal rights. In their mouths, I became a calculating, fatherless brat. We can't do without a man in the house. We orphans and widows will be bullied. My mom's nature is soft. She put her hope in men, time and time again to find uninterrupted new uncle with a purpose close. I was 12 years old that year. When I came home, I ran into drunken men holding my mom down and beating her. The dying man on the ground was the only family I had left in the world. I used all my strength to fight a grown man. The irrational man pulled out a knife. I actually breathed a sigh of relief, lamenting that it could all be over. Instead, my mom threw herself in front of me and held me in a desperate embrace, her snow-white dress staining bright red inch by inch. I thought, in this life, we are destined to torture each other. You paid so much for the company. Are you really willing? Mia is the person I brought out. She was sorry to see me go. I held my chin up and took a sip of sake. Happy? 10 years of love and hate. I have fantasized about the future. When the weighing of one or the other appears, there is no winner in this game. What's done is done. And leaving the market in time to stop losses is the best of all possible worlds. Seeing that I had no intention of turning back, Mia complained to me. In order to appease Lily, Ryan gave her a free executive position in the company. Lily was suspicious all day long, interrogating every unmarried woman in the company, setting all sorts of outrageous tests, and even requiring women not to wear makeup or skirts to work. Clients were not immune. and several orders were lost as a result. This is what I did not expect. Ryan, always calm and proper, would allow such unreasonable behavior. Maybe the Ryan I knew was never the real him. Or maybe he was exceptional in his favoritism toward Lily. But none of that mattered to me anymore. The day we left the capital, it was drizzling. My mom was busy bonding with her new son and hung up hastily after a few words of advice over the phone. Before I got on the plane, Victor gave me a call. He's Ryan's childhood friend and we've met a few times. So we know each other quite well. I don't know where he got the news that I'm leaving the country. Summer, you don't have to hide abroad. I've saved up the game. And Yen will come too. Talk everything out. We are still friends. In the private room, Victor clutched his cell phone. His face was a little ugly. On the other side of the phone, Summer directly hung up. When he called again, only a mechanical female voice remained. For a moment, the atmosphere in the private room dropped to freezing point. Ryan's eyes were dull to the extreme at the moment, holding back his anger. This call was authorized by him. He had thought that if he was soft, the other party would go along with the step down. Ask himself, wasn't he good enough for her? At first, he noticed Summer because of her pretty face. It was only later that he was attracted by her unconquerable strength. He remembers Summer standing on the awards podium questioning the principal about the fairness of the scholarships. The tiny figure fighting against the worldly rules. He recognized that Summer was excellent. But the one thing the capital city lacked was gold. Giving her resources. Giving her connections. Bringing her to where she is today. Even publicizing their relationship in front of their friends. What is there for her to be dissatisfied with? Yen, since you can't let go, go and get it back. Victor had just run away from his wife and was sincerely persuaded. Ryan annoyingly lit a cigarette and snorted coldly. It's just a game. She really treats herself as a dish. Ryan's surface clouds light. But recently all kinds of abnormal behavior have confirmed his bluff. For example, he's been condoning Lily's antics and letting people bring the news to Summer. He also inquired about Summer at times, stopping at Summer's house several times and leaving again. Victor advised him several times to see his true heart. Ryan did not think that Summer had any right to be hard on him. It's just because he cares a little. He could give Summer everything and take it all back. Now that he's eased his relationship with his family, all it takes is a word. He'll have people clamoring to do his bidding. What was it like for a calculating man to lose everything? He waits for that day. The day when Summer was desperate. And he bowed his head and gave in. At that time, on the basis of 10 years of friendship, he will reluctantly accept. After I turned off my cell phone, my world was quiet. I spent the first 27 years of my life in a hurry, not daring to stop for a moment. It was as if the world would abandon me if I stopped. What are you chasing? Summer? I asked myself. My heart was empty. And there was no answer. It is said that at the end of the world, those who have seen the northern lights will have all their wishes come true. After landing in Scandinavia, I found a bed and breakfast to stay. Ryan and I had been here on business before. It was just a snowy day. So we hurried back to our home country. There were a lot of people with the same purpose as me. And coincidentally, we all stayed in the same B&B. Some of them were friends, relatives or couples. We formed an impromptu sightseeing group by coincidence. There are no skyscrapers in this town, just snow-capped mountains and fjords. As the sun sets over the white snow-capped peaks, an airplane takes off in the afterglow, stirring up layers of seagulls, circling in the air with their warbling voices. As night fell, the clouds piled up and there were only a few stars. But there is always a way out. and someone suggested going to catch the light. A few of us rented a car, hired a local Aurora guide, and started our childish journey to catch the light. The car drove through the haze of the night until the light in the sky came on. It was Northern Lights. Some people cheered with leaps of joy. A massive light, the color of the sky and the water, cuts through the layers of mountains and hits the soul. "Why don't you make a wish?" I was asked. I was dumbfounded. Perhaps at one time I had many ideas to wish for. For example, that my mom would care about me more, or years and years to come with Ryan. But in this moment, I couldn't say a word. I hope Mom gets better. The boys were praying with devotion. I followed the boys' example and put my hands together, chanting in my heart, "Then wish me good health and fulfillment of my heart." Travelers by the campfire hold hot cocoa and tell their stories. Some people make a promise of a lifetime for love. Some prayed for their loved ones to be free of disasters with their last hope. I have never been so calmly immersed in this moment. Before I let it go, my mind was only weighing the pros and cons. The risk analysis of a thing, the data confirmation of the return. Emotions have never been a luxury for me. Because once I fell into the abyss, no one would give me a hand, or even step on me a few more times. Ryan's presence allowed me to take a few strands of leisure out of my suffocating time to think about the emotional realm I dared not touch. I told him over and over again about my flaws, my family, my untouchability, in an effort to scare him off. I was not a person worth giving. Instead, time and time again, he walked towards me with determination, affirming everything about me. And again, at the end, breaking everything, shattering it to pieces, stabbing knives, one after another, into the tip of my heart, bloody and supremely freeing. The snow encircled me, and the tears in my eyes froze first. I opened my arms long enough to indulge in a dance with the snow, responding to the fantasized soothing. "It's no big deal. Summer." People sigh in disappointment as the clouds of thick ink press in. "What a bummer. It's snowing. Let's go back." On the way back, the accident came out of nowhere. The car rolls over several times, and it's a whiteout. Avalanche up. Voices of horror, blame, and self-pity filled my ears. I had fantasized countless times about what it would be like to go to the playground as a family. I could wear a pretty bow, ride on my dad's shoulders, gather up all my thorns, and pout like a real kid, pointing at my favorite Muppet doll. "Mom, I want that one." But at the moment of life and death, I realized, the bonds between people are never in stages. Whether it is affection, friendship or love. Just like now, the original grief in the car turned into mutual encouragement. We're all going to live. I don't know who shouted, and we all began to struggle to chisel the windows. Before this, we did not know each other well. Because of the same journey, we encourage each other. After today, a journey through the mountains and waters, become each other's life in a hurry to pass by. After being rescued, I fell to the ground in a state of exhaustion. I drew a sun symbol on the soft snow, a symbol that only belongs to summer. As the generations change, my mark will be erased. But I was here in the flesh. I love people before I love myself. And when I'm in the mud, I have to get out of it. I think my own journey has just begun. 1. At Mrs. Gus' birthday banquet. Lily was wearing a dark blue dress and stood with Mrs. Gu. The people attending the banquet were all rich and famous. Ryan stood at the edge of the crowd, looking out into the night, as if the bustle had nothing to do with him. Passers-by held up their glasses and came to congratulate him. Congratulations, Mr. Gu, on finding a beautiful woman. Yes. It was also the day of his engagement to Lily. People thought Mr. Gu was so happy. He was pouring himself drink after drink. A drunken Ryan hugged Lily and shouted my name. Hey, race the live video Mia sent me. The day got so big that Lily left the scene in tears. Ryan was beaten up by his dad and sent straight to the hospital. Sister Summer, I didn't know you had a relationship with Mr. Gu, and kept telling you about Lily. You must have been very sad at that time. On the other end of the phone, Mia apologized to me. I shook my head. To this day, I understand. Ryan never put me on equal footing. Maybe he had some feelings for me, but only a few. He could have gotten together with Lily for the good of the family, or he could have forced me to bow down for his own selfish reasons. He lifted me up to this point, and he has the power to take it all back. My real estate was inexplicably blocked, and my fund stocks evaporated by a large margin. Think back to that early morning text. Come back to me and it's all still yours. Bullying used to be one of the tactics we used to ride them all. Now, he used it against me, the man who used to fight side by side. I smiled bashfully, removed my cell phone card and threw it in the trash. Against the light, I walked to my next stop. At the hospital, Ryan is bandaged. The assistant stood warily, bending over to debrief him. Ever since the boss made his relationship with Mr. Seong public at his own engagement party, he had changed his composure and was even more short-tempered. The general manager's office is also suffering. Almost all day long, they are in contact with foreign countries, monitoring everything that Summer is doing abroad, and reporting everything in detail. To the chief, she lost contact. Avalanche. Buried in the ground. No. Ryan's heart trembled violently, and his pupils were nearly out of focus. Before the assistant could finish his words, a cup grazed the corner of his forehead and fell to the ground. Fart. Roll. Ryan went crazy, ignoring the broken ribs on his body that hadn't recovered yet, and braced himself to check it out himself. The response was still that the man was out of contact. The news was reporting that a tourist had been buried in a small town in Western Europe due to an avalanche triggered by extreme weather, and a rescue was underway. Ryan shook his head while reassuring himself. She's the most cunning. She must be hiding. Ryan ignored the discouragement and immediately had his private jet prepared. He wanted to travel to Northern Europe as fast as possible to get the person back. Just before he could walk out of the hospital entrance, he was racked back to his hospital room. To prevent the injuries on his body from worsening, Mrs. Gu had to order Ryan to be tied to the bed and injected with tranquilizers. She had never seen her son in this state of insanity and losing his mind. Ryan had brought the girl home. Only the girl was born bad. Her mind heavy and not clean enough. And she carried too much on her back. Mrs. Gu had lived most of her life and had seen the tactics of such women around her husband. She just didn't want her son to go through this again. Mom, please let me go to her. Ryan, who was so thin on the hospital bed, begged. She softened her heart and promised her son that as long as he recuperated from his injuries, she would get her back. The Gu family used all their connections, but to no avail. They only found a diary and a pregnancy report. The report showed that Summer was more than 3 months pregnant. Ryan's eyes reddened and his fingertips trembled as he opened the diary. Ryan, you once said that lovers who have seen northern lights will meet in the next life. Unfortunately, we never met and got separated. I brought my baby to see it. Northern Lights is beautiful. If you'd been around, you'd have been blown away by the wonders of nature. Well, I'm pregnant. And despite your birth control, This life snuck up on you. Is this a sign that our bond is still intact? I want to come back to you and tell you about the baby. I was obviously a victim of this environment. But at this moment, I was so bad that I thought of keeping you with the baby. The news was broadcasting the news of your marriage to Lily, and I canceled my return ticket. I wanted to share with you all the new things I had seen on the trip. Even if it was just a piece of cloud, I wanted to share it with you. In the past, I would never have dared to think about it. I knew the gap between us, so I didn't dare to stop for a moment before I dared to muster up a few moments of courage to stand shoulder to shoulder with you. The snow is swallowing us up, and the baby and I may never return. God willing, the baby in my belly and I were never expected. Ryan in his hospital bed was sobbing uncontrollably. The date stood at 2.20, the 10th anniversary of their time together. The last line of the diary read, Ryan, happy wedding, many children. Ryan was a changed man, staring blankly out the window. These days, Ryan thought back to his time with Summer. They had spent 10 years together. 10 years of days and nights, intertwined with each other, supporting each other, had fallen in and out of it long ago. Not just a physical, but a spiritual fit. After a few days with Lily, he realized what he wanted wasn't the gentle small-mindedness that surrounded him. Rather, with just one look from him, there was someone who crossed thousands of obstacles to move forward with him on the same frequency. But he lost people, along with their children. What was he doing then? Oh, he was busy getting engaged to someone else. Ryan's heart felt like it was going to burst at the thought. An uncontrollable wail of grief pierced his chest. On the verge of death, Ryan lay in bed, kept alive by nutrients. Victor visits him a few times, and when he sees him on a hunger strike, he can't help but yell at him. What were you doing? Now that he's dead, what's the point of pretending? Ryan struggled to get up at the sound of his voice, but because of his physical strength, he could only retort with his neck. She's not dead. She's not dead. She and the baby are fine. If it weren't for the fact that Ryan was dying, Victor would have wanted to beat the shit out of him. Then go find her. Who are you playing dead for? Upon hearing this, Ryan looked like he had been hit with chicken blood and had food brought to him, shoving it into his mouth as if he was desperate. His stomach was so upset that he fell to his knees and threw up. Lily saw that Ryan was getting better and came to visit. About Summer's matter. Although her heart is diaphragmatic, but the person is already dead. With a dead person to fight is really out of price. What's more, there are countless marriages between rich families, where couples play each other's games. Ryan's skin is superior. His family is well off, and he does have a heart for him. On the bright side, had fallen in love with him. On the downside, Shed grown up with the tactics of the rich and powerful, and she could handle them. As long as there is a child on the side, can also be the rest of the world without worry. However, just as she entered the door, she was grabbed by Ryan's neck. If it wasn't for you, she wouldn't have left the country with her child. How dare you show up in front of me? It was you who harmed her. The force tightened and Lily couldn't even cry out a complete plea for help. Ryan was mad. Completely mad. If Mrs. Gu hadn't come in time, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Father Gu was furious and gave the order to send the person to closed treatment. Ryan recuperated while hunkering down to look for an opportunity to escape. Finally, one day, taking advantage of the laxity of the medical shift change, Ryan sneaks out and runs to his former lover without a second thought. Year after year, he searched the rolling snowy mountains, 3 years later. I'm on vacation on an island in the southern hemisphere. On the side of the bean ding waved his little fat hand. Buy me an ice cream. Please. The young man rubbing sunscreen on me laughed softly. Call Daddy. Buy you one. Dad. 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 Don't pamper him. He'll get cavities again. Before I could finish, the young man and the young woman had already run off in a frenzy. Speechless, I put on my sunglasses and continued sunbathing. The skin on my back suddenly tightened, and the force of my palm wandering was much greater. I frowned in dissatisfaction. Hiss, lighten up. The breathing behind me seemed heavier. I didn't care. It was only the warm palm that traveled along my spine and suddenly crushed hard at the concave point 3 inches down from my back waist. I was so overwhelmed with emotion that I screamed out. Luckily there wasn't much in the vicinity. Not to the extent of social death. I whipped my head around in exasperation and met Ryan's face of hidden rage. He was slim, and his eyes were haloed with dark blue, as if he hadn't had a good rest in a long time. Do you know how long I have been looking for you? Ryan choked up. I thought you really. What? You're not happy that I'm still alive? I calmed down. Ryan's red eyes stared at me with a deadpan stare, and the aggression in his voice trembled uncontrollably. I thought that if I couldn't find you on Earth, I'd go to hell. If someone hadn't said they'd seen you over here, you'd never have seen me again. And then what? Are you some kind of golden lump? I get up to leave expressionlessly, only to have Ryan clutch my wrist in a death grip and yank me into his arms. I searched for you for 3 years. For 3 whole years. I could only hold on to the notebook you left me through the long, cold, dark nights. For you. I don't want anything. Even if I knew you lied to me, I still had a weak heart. I just want us to go back to the old days. Isn't my sincerity enough? Is that not enough for me? Is that how you're going to treat my feelings for you? Ryan's eyes reddened and he yelled in a frenzy. Summer, do you have a heart or not? While Ryan and I were tugging at each other, Dinky Dinky came back at some point and poked 2 cones on Ryan's knee. The sticky cream blending with the fabric of his suit. Big bad. Get off! Ryan's eyes flashed with tenderness as he stared down at the little doujinshi, who bore more than a passing resemblance to his eyebrows. My? Without waiting for me to respond, little Dudin called out into the distance. Daddy, come quick. There are bad guys. Ryan's face sank, gritting his teeth to let out a few words. You let my son call someone else daddy. Mike rushed back and punched Ryan in the face. Blood oozed from the corner of Ryan's mouth, and he raised his hand to wipe it away, stopping the bodyguards who were fisting behind him. Ryan. Summer. Come back with me, or I'll kill this gold digger. Mike was young and angry and yelled at once. Old man. The security detail of the Lee family gathered around when they saw the young master opening his voice. His family has this strength, but I don't dare to get too deeply involved. Our child is gone. I didn't say any more. Just pulled Do Ding and turned away. Ryan and the bodyguards behind him surged up and were stopped by security detail of the Lee family. No one is allowed to leave. You said you loved me. That diary. I don't believe it's all fake. The hissing behind him resounded in his ears. 3 years ago. I was monitored all the time. Every step I took was blocked. I had to buy contacts and block myself out. And gave Ryan a big gift. I wanted him to remember me every second of every day. To remember how I died in despair with his child while he was hitting it off with a new love interest at that moment. Magnify his guilt indefinitely. And every day thereafter. The guilt that inspired him when he touched happiness would follow him for the rest of his life. What that diary records is half true. Little Doubting's mom was my partner. and I recognized Doubting as my godson. Ryan still hadn't given up. So he secretly took little Doubting's hair for testing. The results made him depressed for a long time. He had to accept that our baby was gone. He went to another family the day he and Lily got engaged. A family with loving parents. Ryan didn't come home. He found out where I lived. I'm not surprised he's able to find that out now compared to the needle in a haystack 3 years ago. I'd gotten over it a long time ago. After all, it had been 3 years. And there was no point in avoiding him. Summer. Give me a chance to make it up to you. Okay? Ryan stopped me. The man I knew was never untouchable. Towering over me. At this moment, he bent down to me. His voice begging. I paused. Looking at the man who had been my companion with indifference. If everything can be made up for, then 3 years ago that desperate and near-desperate me is what? Ryan. We are all adults. Leave some decency. I paused, remembering the words had given me before. Clean break. Ryan tried to step forward, but my assistant Leo stopped him. Sir, please behave yourself, Leo said in a gentle but dignified tone. If you continue, we will take legal action to deport you to your home country. Leo opened the back seat, raised his hand to protect the top of my head, and escorted me to the car. Ryan gritted his teeth and stared at Leo's overly intimate gestures. And who the hell are you? After closing the car door, Leo calmly handed Ryan his business card. I'm Leo, Mr. Seong's personal assistant. If you have any questions, ask me to make an appointment with Mr. Seong first. The car moved forward smoothly and I glanced back. Ryan clenched his fists and stared dead on in the direction we left. I couldn't help but lose my smile and flirt with Leo, who was sitting in the passenger seat. Ling-suk. See, you are usually honest. I didn't expect that the power to anger people is also good. Leo's face has no expression. This is my job. TSK. Not amusing. No fun. I lowered my head to deal with the documents. In the corner where I can't see, Leo stared at the figure in the rearview mirror and clenched his fists. With Leo's moves, I rarely ran into Ryan again. I affirmed his ability to do his job and gave him another 2% increase in his year-end bonus commission. Leo still had no expression on his face, and brought a cup of brown sugar water and a baby warmer and put it on my desk. I slapped my head. No wonder I was so irritable these days. The original is the physiological period has arrived. I paralyzed on the sofa. Leo set the lunch box in front of me. Why isn't it the one I usually eat at? Leo took out chopsticks and spoons from the lunch bag and handed them to me, and said nonchalantly, "This is the chicken soup I boiled. So don't eat takeout these days." I skimmed my lips. It's always hard to refuse soup made by my own hands. But I've been on a diet recently. Just when I was in a dilemma, Leo has already served a bowl and handed it to me. Softly said, "The oil in the soup I have skimmed off will not be fat." I can't help but lament. Who will be your wife will have to set off firecrackers to celebrate for 3 days and 3 nights. Leo looked at me with downcast eyes and drank the soup, and his color flashed a trace of emotion that I didn't understand. His lips opened and he was about to speak but was interrupted by 2 childish voices. "Godmother! Nwan, my godson and I came to see you." Little Doubting and Mike swooped over, but were steadily caught by Leo in front of me. "Godmother, will you go to the amusement park with me?" Little Doubting hugged my leg. I covered my vaguely aching stomach and forced a smile. Godmother is not feeling well today. Seeing this, Little Doubting's round eyes rolled and he happily exclaimed, "I have a sister, don't I?" Meaty face rubbing against my belly. "Godmother, You finally promised Godfather to give me a sister. Me? I glared at Mike, who was cowering, poking his finger and pretending to be a quail. Leo stood up, picked up little Do Ding's collar and lifted the person out. Uncle Ling prepared some summer vacation homework for you. When I came back again, I had just finished reprimanding Mike not to fool around with Do Ding. Leo saw that Mike wanted to drink chicken soup and came over in 3 or 2 steps to snatch it away. Assistant Ling, what do you mean? Mike frowned in dissatisfaction. Leo's face was cold. The corner of his mouth tugged lightly. This soup will impotent if you drink it. Leaned. Seeing Ryan again was in my company's conference room. In the capacity of a client. I don't take food in contempt. But I don't refuse to pay for what I get. Ryan has changed his ways. And he can't be faulted for being a businessman. It's Mike who's getting more and more unreasonable. Squatting in my office every day. Wherever I go. He follows me. But I can't do anything about it. He is a distant relative of my partner. He is of mixed Chinese and English descent and is the youngest son in the family. The youngest son of 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 the family. I lost my temper on I don't know how many occasions when he interrupted my project meetings with Ryan. Mike froze for a moment. His European-style peach blossom eyes instantly overflowing with aggression. It won't happen again. Since then, Mike's been quiet for a while. He doesn't wear his leather jacket, but a suit instead. The long hair over the ear with hairspray. Actually have a few calm temperament. The kid dresses up. Like a decent man. Mike retorted as he put the contract down on the table. I'm not a kid. I'm a grown-up. He didn't know what inspired him to run away. Go home and inherit a company. And come to talk to me about cooperation. He was sleepy, hungry and lethargic when it came to work. But any dip into Ryan's business and he was immediately alert. Like a puppy guarding its food. Narrowing his eyes and not hiding his malice. I felt vaguely uneasy. But I just assumed he was having a temper tantrum. Until the celebration banquet of the perfect landing of the project. Ryan raised his wine glass and lightly touched me. His eyes deep. Summer. We are still as compatible as before. We're a perfect match. Before he could finish his sentence, the lights suddenly dimmed and a soothing, romantic concerto played. When the lights came back on, Mike walked toward me holding Ecuadorian roses. He knelt down on one knee in front of me and held a diamond ring in front of me. Nwan, will you marry me? I hurriedly pulled him up and lowered my voice. You are crazy. I am 11 years older than you. Mike held my hand back. His tone aggravated. Do you think I am too young? I've grown up. I can be mature and steady too. I sighed and gently pushed his hand away. You don't have to change for anyone. I just think of you as a younger brother who loves to mess around. Mike's eyes dimmed for a moment and then lifted up in hope. Then get used to thinking of me as a lover. When I didn't know what to say in response to make him die, Leo took off his jacket and draped it over my shoulders, leading me off the stage. I was relieved when I got back to the villa. Leo brings me a bowl of calming tea and turns to stand behind me, his fingertips gently rubbing my temples. Thanks. My job. The partner gave me a call. I pursed my lips and pressed answer. Oh. Good for you. Don't make fun of me. I'm going crazy. Mike. A Chinese-British mix. 187 tall and worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Why isn't he good enough for you? I'm 11 years older than him. He's just a kid. Mike's impatient voice immediately came from the other end. I am not small. Nwan. I really like you. I like you very much. Mike wanted to say something else, but was interrupted by Do Ding's mom. He is 19 years old. Here is different from home. You can get a license. If you are worried about his family, this you don't worry. His family is very open-minded. Everything is Mike-like. Even if you become back to the slag woman, his family still has the ability to give him the bottom. He didn't force me to say these things. What I said is the truth. 30 is the age to break in. I rejected Mike righteously. He still wouldn't give up. He stayed at my company in the name of his job, and he and Ryan had a secret rivalry. I had to avoid them both as much as possible, and let Leo butt heads with them. Leo was always able to arrange things properly and I had a comfortable time. Except that such good times were soon to come to an end. Ryan had a few drinks and went on a drunken rampage in front of my house. Summer, what is it going to take for you to forgive me? They'll give you everything I have. All of it. Will you come home with me? Next to him messing around with him was Mike. No one wants your dirty things even if you throw them in the trash can. Nwan. Don't take his. Take mine. Mine is clean. I pinched my eyebrows and removed the mask I just put on, resisting the urge to give one person outside a big mouth. I made a call to the Lee family, asking them to pick up the drunken Mike back. The argument outside the door continued unabated. Ryan didn't really see Mike as a rival, but was wary of Leo. He was convinced that Summer didn't like this kind of brat. Whether it was personality or ability, he was much more composed than Mike's old man chewing young master. Ryan coldly grunted. Mike was provoked by his love rival instantly grumpy. Old and crippled. You still hummed on. Ryan, poked and prodded, was furious with the alcohol. I was in love with Summer for 10 years. And we had a child. Ryan froze for a moment. He seemed to have so little competitiveness left. And now he had a tendency to break the mold. That didn't keep her. So that's how bad you are. Mike disliked him without hesitation, pushing and shoving him out of the room until the disoriented man fell to the ground. The Lee family arrived just as I opened the door and picked up their young master. I'd never seen Ryan look so forlorn, and he slumped to the floor with a wounded expression, looking at me with despair in his eyes. You know what, Summer? In the 3 years I've been looking for you, I've had dreams. I dreamt that the child was crying miserably, waving his hand, asking me why I didn't want it. My heart felt like it was being plucked out. I'm sorry, Summer. I'm really sorry. Ryan covered his brow with one hand to protect what was left of his dignity, but tears leaked from his fingers first. I handed him my cell phone as he was about to lower his head to me. After 3 years of mental torture, he has grown a few strands of silver in his dark hair at the age of early 30s. My heart felt more and more bad. And I thought, let's break this bad relationship cleanly. Ryan fell to his knees and pulled me by the corner of my shirt. Please give me another chance. I'm stuck with you for life. Have mercy on me. Forgive me. Okay? I didn't look back. Silence was my answer. It's enough to fall down once in the same place. The past can't be admonished. The future can still be pursued. Under the streetlight, Ryan couldn't hold back his emotions any longer, clutching his shirt at his heart, and cowering in the corner with a cry of sadness. All he could do was watch as the love of his life drifted away. Summer turned her back on him, and didn't look back once. He thought that parting was the most painful thing. It was the encounter that was so close and yet so far away that was the most agonizing and painful of all. The one who was far away was the gold he had dug up when he was young. But now, that gold no longer belongs to him, and has completely abandoned him. In the corners without him, the gold still shone brightly. He had to admit. Summer. Without him. Still living well. He was never the only one. He had never been the only one. In this entanglement, he was the only one who stayed put. Forever and ever.